Heather Martin has officially set the record straight on those Matt James romance rumors. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We have all the latest details from Heather Martin, but before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Gianna Gravalisi. Gianna, this has been a long time coming, I feel like, so let's just dive right into what Heather had to say. Romance rumors, of course, sort of sparked last month after Heather and Matt both posted on social media that they were in San Clemente, California. And then Heather was conveniently cut from the Women Tell All special, which a lot of fans were reading into. They felt like there meant something, was going on maybe behind the scenes. Obviously, Heather showed up during that season to shoot her shot. She made it very clear that through their mutual friend, Hannah Brown, she was very convinced they were right for each other. And Matt ended up alone. So a lot of people went, all right, well, Matt was looking for love. Heather was invested. The world is their oyster. Maybe something's going to come of this. What do you think about this? Do you understand why people were rooting for it? Were you rooting for it yourself? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I can completely understand why people were rooting for it. I think we see this time and time again for the Bachelor franchise. Everyone's under this microscope. Everyone is theorizing. We were even talking about this the other day with some contestants potentially dating. This is nothing new here. So I totally see why people were kind of speculating, especially since they were in the same location. And then for her to be cut out of the Women Tell All, we were all shocked, and all we could think about was why. So I guess the only reason amongst them being together could have been maybe they did end up together. Maybe Matt ended up alone and then went back to her. And so I understand why everyone started theorizing. I even theorized. I was making up conspiracies about this, but I wasn't necessarily rooting for it in a sense. If this was something The Bachelor had done, if this came out to be true, I would have thought that The Bachelor franchise did it on purpose to spark even more drama outside of the show itself on social media. So I'm kind of glad it's not true. Matt needs to just do his own thing for now. So, but I can see why everyone's obviously making up theories, as they always do.
You are so right, Gianna. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this when I saw this story come up this morning. Bachelor Nation is just made up of a bunch of detectives. Everyone constantly has their eyes peeled, looking for clues, looking for something. The reality is people find stuff a lot. Those social media connections, those Venmo likes, right? Time and time again, some fans spot something and it totally ends up being right on the money a few weeks later, when a big story breaks. So there are certain moments where you see something and we all kind of automatically go, okay, this is it. We're on people, newest thing is happening, but that doesn't always end up being the case, which kind of takes me to Heather stopped by Ben and Ashley I's Almost Famous podcast to set the record straight. And you guys, there is nothing going on here. She told them she is not dating Matt. She explained that she thinks he has a lot going on in his life, which he absolutely does, saying, quote, he's going through a ton. I can't even imagine. So many different aspects of the show, just everything. So I think he has a lot going on right now. So no, I'm not dating Matt. Now, that doesn't sound to me like the response of someone who never would be interested in dating Matt. I don't think she, sounded like, oh no, I've moved past that. I have no interest in, connecting with him again. But the reality is, we all watched what happened on Matt's season. We've all seen the interviews he's done since then. Matt has made it pretty clear he's in a place where he wants to work on himself, focus on what's important to him, heal and bounce back from his crazy journey on the show. So I think that was kind of an interesting response. No, they're not dating, rumors put to bed, but she did acknowledge what he's going through and why she doesn't think now would be a good idea, which is interesting.
Oh, it's so interesting. And, Heather's circumstances were a little different. Obviously she showed up late in the season and then she left pretty shortly after that because it wasn't really her place and the other women weren't really fans of her. But she said there's no bad blood there. So for someone to be on The Bachelor, clearly she showed up, as you said, tried to shoot her shot. She did have an interest in Matt. And, maybe being sent home, she didn't really get the closure that she needed. She was cut out of the Women Tell All. So there was probably never really an ending for them. And, for me, I can think I would just be left wondering why, or like what could have been. And like now that she knows Matt's single, like really what could be if they ever did end up together. So, I mean, obviously she said they're not dating, but I love how she acknowledged that he does have a lot going on right now. Like if she went on that podcast and was like, no, we're not dating, but I would love to date, like this, that, the other, I feel like that would have made Matt feel a little uncomfortable if he got wind of that. So it's really nice of her to be kind of respecting his boundaries at this time.
Absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, they do have a mutual friend who they're both totally close to. So the odds of them crossing paths at some point in the future, if there is a connection there, who knows what could happen? I don't think there was enough of a spark between them in that very brief moment on the show for anyone to be trying to dive into anything right now. So I think this is one of those, like maybe fans are rooting for it a little bit more than the reality, is unfolding. Even though she's not dating him, I think there were maybe still some questions about like, well, have they hung out? Have they used that mutual connection to FaceTime or something, catch up? But Heather says no, they actually have not been in contact since the show. The San Clemente thing was just a total coincidence. She lives very close to there. She told the podcast, my best girlfriend lives there. I'm in San Clemente all the time. I guess he was there too. I mean, the reality is Heather lives in California. Matt is back in New York City. This seems like it truly was a random coincidence. Even with the mutual friend of Hannah Brown, I just don't see them hanging out together anytime soon. It feels like if anything is going to happen, friendship-wise or otherwise, it's going to be down the line. What do you think?
You're so right. I agree with you 100% because, again, as we've been discussing and learning, Matt really is not down for the path of a relationship right now. He has put that to bed. He's learning to work on himself and he's trying to step away from the Bachelor franchise. He doesn't want that to be a part of his identity. So for him, what if they did hang out in who knows? Obviously, we would find out one way or another, the little Bachelor detectives that we are. It wouldn't be a good look for him and it would still keep him attached to the Bachelor. So I really do believe that Matt is just kind of done with all things and all people Bachelor. He's really working on himself. He's busy. He just did that whole revamping of his Instagram thing. So he is just in New York doing his own thing. Obviously, Heather's in California. I don't see why they would ever travel to be together. Obviously, they do have mutual friends. But as you said, Fiona, I think any sort of connection would be really down the line. And I also think it's just funny how we're so quick to assume that if two people are in the same place, then they're dating, because this happens all the time with celebrities. It's California. So many big people, celebrity, influencer, reality TV star live in California. They bump into each other all the time. So it's just, this franchise, the fans, they just are constantly cracking me up with the theories. And sometimes, they do play out true. So I guess we can only see what happens.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It feels like any little thing could potentially be so huge. And the reality is a lot of the time it's just not that deep. One thing that I think I really was hoping we would get some tea on, because it does feel, maybe I'm going conspiracy here, but this one does feel a little deep to me. Heather being cut from Women Tell All. It felt so bizarre. The fact that they really tried to edit her out the way that they did. I think so many fans have so many questions, but it doesn't seem like we're really going to get any answers on the podcast. Obviously, they brought this up because it was just such an odd moment, all things considered, with everything going on in the franchise. See this blonde head pop up, put the pieces together, and then just be like, well, she's cut, she's out. Sorry, no explanation, no details. She told the podcast, I don't know, guys. I don't know what I'm allowed to say these days. So no real details, but that feels a little interesting to me. At the time, I thought, listen, she came in, she had 5 minutes, she had drama with the girls, she left, right? Like, ultimately, while the drama was aggressive and while the move was sort of crazy and out there and something we definitely talked about a lot during the season, overwhelming arch of the relationships made and all that jazz, it really wasn't that important. It was a quick blip and maybe it was just edited for time, right? Like, there was a lot, let's face it, that happened in that season that needed to be unpacked in that special. So I initially thought time But you'd think she would be allowed to say that, wouldn't you? I mean, it feels like if that's the reason, why would she hesitate to say, you know what, I just didn't play that big a role in the season and I think they edited me out? I mean, what do you make of this?
Yeah, for her to say, I don't know what I'm allowed to say these days, sounds like some sort of she's being threatened or like someone's holding a grudge over her. Like, if you tell them why we edited you out, like, we will come after you and you will be banned. Like, that just seems very extreme to me for her not to even explain it. Or, maybe she really doesn't know the answer. Maybe she said that in the sense of, if I make assumptions, I don't want people to attack the franchise because they're already under a lot of heat. So maybe she was just trying to protect the franchise, but I don't know. That wording is still a little bit sketchy to me. It's funny because I always just wonder, why? Like, why was she there? And also, I'm not sure if you saw the TikTok she uploaded thereafter. She was in front of her television and she was sitting where her little clip was of this blonde head. And in the TikTok, she turned around and kind of like pointed to the blonde head during the women tell all. So it was kind of her saying, I was there and I was cut out kind of thing. And that was pretty funny for her to make a joke out of it. But still, the whole situation seems really sketchy to me. So I don't know. Again, we could theorize for days, but who knows? We could just pretend right for now that it was for time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the reality is this seems like the moment that if we were going to get some answers, we would have. It's a podcast interview. It's after the fact. It's in the Bachelor Nation family. This is where, there's a lot of Bachelor Nation podcast hosts. So it feels like when other Bachelor Nation alums come on those podcasts, they feel very comfortable hashing things out, talking about things because it's kind of all in the family. So it feels like this kind of would have maybe been the moment. So I think we might just have to chalk this up to a Bachelor mystery we're not going to get solved. While she did her interview, she did reflect on the drama that went down with the women in the house, which I actually do think is interesting. In hindsight, she explains she does understand why she wasn't welcomed with open arms, which I think a lot of us watching kind of understood, right? We had already had more women surprise the original group not too long ago. Now we have somebody else in Bachelor Nation showing up. She's gorgeous. There's, personal connection there. Totally got how the contestants would have felt that pressure, that heat, that stress. But I also think a lot of us really thought the reaction was too far, kind of crossed the lines of, okay, that was an understandable reaction, but we still have to have some manners, some decency. Heather says, quote, I have no bad feelings about the girls now. I understood where they were coming from and I understood they were frustrated. I was really sad and shocked about the reaction, but no, I have no ill will towards the girls or any negative feelings. I think this is pretty interesting because at the end of the day, they definitely were mean. But I think when you watch this season back, if I was Heather, I would feel the same way. I would be like, you know what? It was clearly a bad moment all around. If I was in their shoes, I might be upset. But I think it goes to show the fact that she's not holding a grudge, considering how poor the treatment was, that says something about Heather too,
Yeah, this is just Heather being the bigger person. Those girls were so mean. They essentially pushed her out of the show. And I think it's horrible. This season we saw a lot of toxic energy and, women are supposed to lift each other up. I don't understand why it wasn't her fault that she showed up late. Again, I think this was the producers behind the scenes saying, hey, let's throw another girl in there just to see what happens. If one of them came in late, I'm sure they would have gotten treated the same. But it's not like she had any bad intentions coming in late. Like, oh, I'm just gonna come in, do whatever I want type of thing. Like, no, she was shooting her shot and it was a fair shot. She was on this show, but I understand why the girls got frustrated. It was like they were there, they had been there, and then this new girl comes in getting the same chance we all have when we've been here before. But there was no reason for them to be as mean as they were. So I think Heather is really, really, like I said, being the bigger person here. It really shows how strong she is as a person. But, we got to remember that there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes that likes to stir up drama. So unfortunately, Heather was a part of it, but I'm glad that she's handling it well.
Oh, absolutely. I think you said it totally perfectly. And the big thing is, I mean, listen, people in Bachelor Nation, they do this. They pop up again. It's never truly goodbye when someone's time on whatever season they're on ends. And Heather is one of those familiar faces that fans, know, follow, love, continue to be interested in her life, if she's with somebody, I think everyone in Bachelor Nation is going to want the tea. They're going to want all of the details. And I think it feels like a very natural question is, well, we just saw her pop up in Matt's season. Obviously, she was interested in finding someone looking for love, putting herself out there. Could she be a natural fit for? That didn't work, but there's always paradise. Obviously, we just saw her again. Fans are talking about her. It feels like maybe a natural call for producers to be making behind the scenes. But alas, she is super not interested in that. If they made those calls or not at this point, she made it very clear on the podcast that the Matt thing was kind of a specific one-off, right? She was interested in Matt. She wanted to shoot that shot. She's no interest in going to the beach and figuring it out there. She said, I don't think that's the show for me for multiple different reasons. Basically, I think it probably, I'm, inferring here a little on her behalf, but the environment maybe doesn't feel like it's for her. The competitive energy, Paradise is a tough game. I don't even know if I could picture her in Paradise. I kind of get it. It feels like maybe it's not the move. That's not how she's going to find her person. I mean, what do you think?
I'm totally with you. In hindsight, she seems like the perfect candidate. She was on The Bachelor, she got cut short, then she was cut out of the Women Tell All. So it would only make sense for the franchise to have her on Paradise. I think that would really stir up headlines. It would really up viewership. So that would be a smart move on their end. But for Heather herself, again, it's interesting the wording she used saying, I don't think that's the show for me for multiple different reasons. It's like that comment she made saying she doesn't know what she can and can't say. It's like she has this sort of fear of the people higher up in the franchise. I feel bad for her in a way, but it's not surprising because, we've seen perfect example, Matt, he did not have a good time on that show and he's working on, his mental health over it. I think that a lot of people kind of undermine the severity that being on a reality show can take on you and your mental health. I mean, especially Heather, she got bullied essentially. You're put on this national platform. You have millions of people watching you. And then for this to happen, obviously things can be edited. She was edited out of the Women Tell All. So it's a lot to take in, and I applaud her for not wanting to go on Paradise. I think that there are a lot of, potential candidates that want to go on just for the clout and the attention more so than to find the romance, because that is a tough show to be on. So, I mean, it's probably definitely the right move for her at the end of the day, but I don't think that she's done with the franchise herself. Who knows? Maybe we'll see her a little bit down the line, but again, we'll just have to see. I'm sure we'll be theorizing something about her in the near future.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it best. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of starting to feel like Heather has some Bachelor trust issues right now, right? I mean, I would if I were her. So I don't know that this is where her journey with the franchise ends, but I definitely think they're in a distance phase, right? She wants some space. She wants to try her own luck out there in the world of love. So it'll be interesting if and when we see Heather sticking her toe back in the Bachelor Nation pool. In the meantime, you guys, that is all the latest we have for you. We want to know how you feel about her clearing up these rumors. Are you disappointed? Are you still maybe holding out some hope that down the line she and Nat could connect? Let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell, because we will try to keep you updated on everything going on in Bachelor Nation. I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the wonderful Gianna Gravalisi. If you want to come say hi, our social handles are on the screen right now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.